Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you've been following my projects, then you already know my daily driver, Ford Pinto. Well, today I'm going to be taking care of a project that I've been putting off for far too long. Ditching the old rubber cobbled together fuel lines has resulted in this hideous colostomy bag of a fuel system, and fabricating my own custom steel fuel lines. Now, to go with my new custom fuel lines, I've ordered myself a new fuel tank. Now, I'm going to need to figure out an appropriate way to plumb the 3/8 feed and return lines and ditch my old hardware store adapters. Now, I'm hoping these fuel system modifications will not only look great, but also quiet down my howling fuel pump. So let's get started. All right, so my first order of business is going to be to plan out where exactly I want my fuel lines to run. Now, it seems as though I can pretty much follow the factory routing because it's nicely protected here by the subframes, but it does seem a tad intricate. I think I kind of want to run more of a straight shot. You know, my fuel pump is probably going to live somewhere in here. So maybe I'll just use this line sort of as my template. Then I'll hop under the subframe on this side here, go all the way to the front of the car, and up, make my 90-degree up into the engine compartment. So, let me get my tape measure and make some measurements. Let's see. I've assembled almost everything I need to make custom fuel lines here. I have my little tubing bender here that does 3/8, 5/16, and 1/4-inch line. I've got a tubing cutter, which is pretty great. It clamps on the fuel line and you spin it round and round and round, and it makes smaller and smaller cuts until the line is all the way cut through. And it leaves a really nice surface with no mars or flashing, which is great for rubber lines. The last thing I have is my old double flare brake line kit. Now, I initially bought this as a mechanic to make double flare brake lines. But what I found is that if I can reconfigure some of the little stoppers and dies, I can actually make the bubble flare that's used to grab hold of the rubber lines on factory vehicles. So what I plan on doing is making as much steel line as I can for strength's sake and for, you know, nice flow. And then where the line needs to be able to flex and move, say inside the engine compartment or near the gas tank where it needs to go up over the hump or go to the fuel pump or do what it needs to do, I'll use this little flare, slide the 3/8 line over it. It's a nice tight fit. And secure it with a hose clamp. So let me just see where I'm at. Alright, let's see how she goes. Down. Just lovely. So I'm going to make my first bend a little bit less than 90 degrees. We'll bend it up. And here we go. All right, bend number one. Let's see how she is. Boom! Right on. I'm not sure I could have done any better than that. What I want to do, follow that line. I need to make a right turn and grab onto the subframe here. So I want to make my right turn probably right about here. And I'm just going to make this a quick S bend. I'm going to come in and then I'm going to come back out. That way it's gonna ride alongside this rail for a while before I kick it up into the engine compartment. All right, so here's my mark I made. Now this part, for some reason, is so difficult to me. I don't know what it is about translating the right turn to the left turn, but I almost inevitably always build at least one wrong every time I build lines like this. Okay, that's where I want the bend to start. At the other end, it's going upwards, okay? So this is exactly like it would be on the car. It's gonna put a left turn. I want it the other way. So let me flip the tail down. It's going to go towards the subframe. Okay, this is right. This is right. I got it. So now I'm gonna make a quick right turn, flip the piece 180 degrees, and bend back the other way. And this will make that S turn I need so that it runs parallel to the subframe. And I'll take this one all the way to 90 degrees. And bring it back parallel. Okay, so let me make sure this is 90 degrees straight, okay? And here we go. Put a 90 in it. Okay. So now there's my S-bend. So it should come to the subframe and then travel alongside the subframe parallel. But let's go see how I did. Let's line it up. Boom. Looks great. Well, now this is challenging right here, because if it goes straight up from here, it's going to go directly into my steering column. So I need to cut a 45 right here because it needs to clear my radius arm bushing here. And then once it's up, maybe I'll kick it one way or another to grab my fuel line. How's about them apples? All right, there's my 45. Now, so far it looks good. Looks like it'll run along the car, right angle, grab the subframe, go a little further up. Let's see how she fits. Oh man, beautiful. I see what I need to do now. It's way more clear. Now that we have this 45 here going up the firewall, I'm gonna make a 90-degree S-bend here and here so that it clearances away from the steering column. I have my S-turns bent, and we'll do the final check to make sure I didn't just scrap this brand new part. And it's not exactly right. In fact, it's exactly wrong. That's what I was talking about making the turns in the wrong spot. I don't know what it is about translating the right turn to the left turn, but I almost inevitably always build at least one wrong. So, now what do I do? Scrap this part? So, I'm gonna have to sacrifice my nice little S-bend here because it's going the wrong direction. So I'll just cut it off right here and put a bubble flare. And then that's where I guess I'll start my rubber fuel line. Okay, so now that I have my committed length here to the fuel line, it's time to add my little bubble flare here. This little peg helps the line from collapsing in on itself. You throw that in there. It also is the seat for the little die to drive it. Then you just tighten her down until she bubbles. You can see it start to bubble and you can feel it start to bubble. And the trick is to not get too greedy. You want to stop before it deforms the line. So, take it off, see what we got. And just like that, we have a nice bubble flare. Test it with some hose. Nice and tight. Now we'll do the other side. Looks like a good bubble there. Now let's do the fuel pump line. Well, before I start designing my fuel pump feed line, I really should cut these old rubber lines loose and mock up the return line that I just designed. That way I can make sure that the two lines run together, they don't interfere with themselves. Alright, well I got my return line all mounted up and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Let me show you. You can see I had to put one additional bend into this line so that that didn't fall down too low under the body down this way. I just wanted it to follow up a little bit, nice gradual bends. And that's where my line is going to attach and go over the axle tube here. You can see my little bubble flare on there. Now I've got the line suspended with these insulated, zinc-coated line holders. I got these from like a farm supply store. And my line comes down. I've got another mount here to hold it in place. Keeps going, keeps going. That's where it makes its little right turn. And then it keeps coming and it goes upwards where my fuel line is going to attach to it. And I'll be able to clear the steering column there, run up into the engine compartment. I'm pretty darn happy with the way that turned out. So, let me get started on the planning out of the second line. So, I have my fuel pump here. I guess I can start the fuel line here on this tab. I like that little tab. I'm using it to ground my fuel pump. So maybe I'll start the line there, go rubber to here, just 6 inches. And then I'll run it straight shot down. Maybe mount it to this cross member. Make a right turn. Join this on the cross member and go up. Now, one of the stupidest things I did was my post pump filter right here in line, and that is like not allowing the line to mount nicely to anything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to relocate this under the engine compartment because there's really no reason for it to be out here in the elements like this, unprotected, waiting for some rock to jump up and smash it. Alright, so this one probably only going to need about 65 inches. Let's line this up where I think I want it to be. Protected by that little flange, you know. Tuck it up like that. I'm going to want it to make its right turn here. 1S. And it'll go and find itself right underneath there, I think perfectly. So, let's put an S in this thing and see how she does. Give her a quick 90. Alright, now we have our S turn. Let's go see how it fits. Alright, that's going to do quite nicely here. My S is in just the exact right spot, and I have just the right distance here to where I'm going to bubble off to my fuel pump. So, what I need to mark now is where I want this to catch. It's 45 degrees up. And I'm going to mark, to try and avoid what happened last time, I'm going to mark the top side of the bend so I can ensure that I don't scrap this piece of tubing too. give her a 45. See, that looks pretty good like that with the two together. Just need to trim the end a touch so that I have enough room to slip a short line of hose in there. Let me get that mounted up, and then I can drill it and flare it. Mark where I need to shorten the line. This is the part of the line that'll feed into the fuel pump directly. I'll make this one last cut and then I'll bubble flare both ends, install it on the car. Make sure the hose still goes on it. Throw them back on the car permanently. Alright, so here's where my new fuel line terminates right there. And there's my fuel pump. I'm really pleased with the way that these lines turned out. You can see from underneath the car, they run nice and secure, and they're pretty clear of anything being able to reach up and snag them. They also don't move around very much, which is going to be good. Hopefully that'll be good for sound too. If you don't already have one of these new fangled hose cutters, I suggest you get one. Makes a perfect cut every time. Just like that. So here we are under the car again. And here's that crummy adapter I was using that I just cobbled together out of hardware store plumbing. So what I guess I'll do is just cut this line down here and then move it over to my new return line. You know what? I need to get this thing out of the garage because if you can't tell, it's late at night. I took a little break for dinner, came back out and it was dark. So let me just plumb it together so I can at least move the car out of the garage tonight. Garrett, you may be wondering, what's the deal with these dangling wires here? Well, I might tell you, these are remnants of my reverse light switch. Now, when I did the transmission swap, I had to do it in a weekend because I was stranded in another town and needed to get home. Now, I did not put a quick disconnect, so when I had to pull the transmission back out to do my engine work, I did not reconnect them. I just kind of tied them up because at that time I had to get back to work on Monday. That might be something we address tomorrow. Yeah, let's just put it off for another day. Okay, so all that aside. Okay, pouring gasoline on the floor. Slide that on there for now. And more gasoline. All right, and there she is. Now, I can already tell you how much better I feel about this setup. This wire, like I said, I'm gonna try and reroute that inside the cab when I do my carpet job. But I mean, look at that. What was I waiting for, right? Let me tie this back together and start it up. I don't expect it to be any quieter right now because I'm still running the reducer into the 1/4" line and yada yada yada. But I'm going to start it up and park it back in the driveway where it belongs. And I'll get back at this tomorrow when the sun's out. Doesn't look too bad. Everything is pretty nicely routed. Should be good to fire it up. Actually, it is a little quieter. it's the next day and I'm ready to get started. I think the first thing we're going to try and tackle is the sending unit. We're going to need to figure out a way to adapt the 5/16 and 1/4 lines to 3/8. I've got some ideas, but I need to try some stuff first. Let's get started. So this is the last bit of gas as I'm draining it into my jerry cans, and you can see all kinds of rust flakes and floaties and debris that drain down to my fuel tank. Kind of a bit of a bummer that I've been driving it so long this way, you know. Alright, so here is my sending unit, and as you can tell it is extremely crusty, which is indicative of a very crusty fuel tank. While I was thinking of this project in my head, I thought for some reason that I was just going to drill this out, maybe put a bulkhead AN fitting in there, run a hose down, Bob's your uncle. Now I realize why I didn't do that the first time. One, the level sender is attached to the pickup tube itself. Big bummer, because this has to be at a correct height and angle, and that's going to be difficult to replicate. Number two, I don't think there's enough room on here to do a bulkhead fitting. Next, these are really hard parts to come by. You just can't buy this at O'Reilly. So I guess the first thing I'm going to do is clean this up with some brake clean and a wire brush. Maybe while I'm working on that, I'll get an idea of what I need to be doing. I hope the ideas come today, because now the Pinto is up in the air in the garage and I don't have a fuel system again. Alright, you can tell that's cleaning up. Actually not too bad. It's still a little crusty, but a lot better than what it was before. I really want to know what's underneath this sock here. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's just solid crust. Neat. Okay, cool. I did have an idea. You know, the difference in diameter of this 3/8 tubing and this 5/16 is actually not that much. And I wonder if I can just take one of my old trial flares here and flare out the other side and just solder it in place right there so that I have a 3/8. It's a little janky, but it might do the trick. And that would allow me to retain the factory sending unit, which I might add still works. It still works just fine despite its hideous appearance. So I'm going to keep cleaning this up and keep pondering that. I have a lot of extra pieces to practice on, so carrying on. Alright, so I know it's not Pebble Beach quality, but you know what? It cleaned up pretty nice. Now I guess I'll practice joining pieces of steel tubing together to try and make an adapter like so. Trial number one. I have my little elbow that I plan to join, and I have another piece I flared out just a little bit, and I have it positioned up there with a little magnet. Let's see if I can solder this together and see if it is a joint that's worth the darn. I got a little flux here. Okay, yeah, sure. You betcha. That's pretty hideous, but it looks pretty good. I mean, if I can do an airtight seal that way, I think that's going to be the dang ticket. Didn't quite get it airtight, but I think I could. I think I'll do another practice run, and then I'm going to give that a shot, because that is really neat. Okay, round 2. I have my little flare. Okay, I don't know what I did wrong that time. Okay, I've got my flare. I'm gonna put this together. This time I'm gonna try dipping my solder directly into the flux. Not even close. Woo woo! Try that again. Dang it. Okay, round 4. Got my flare, got my piece. I'm gonna fix it in place with a magnet. Okay, that one was much better. It definitely seems like there's a sweet spot with the heat, where if you go too hot, it doesn't work at all. How strong is it? Wow, it's pretty darn strong. Is it airtight? It's airtight. Okay, this is what I need to do. So let me do like 2 more. Okay, I really wish the camera was on for that one. I don't know what happened. I had the heat just right. I touched the solder on there. It just flowed all the way around the joint perfectly. This is a really strong joint. It's exactly perfect. If I can reproduce that one more time, I think I'm ready to put it on. All right, that one went pretty well. Really not as pretty as this top one. But let's see if it's strong. Yeah. Right on. Okay, and is it airtight? And it's airtight. Cool. All right, I'm gonna clean up my sending unit. Give it a shot. All right, so this is going to be incredibly nerve-wracking because, as I said, this is a obsolete part, no longer available. So, I've made a little flange with a barb fitting at one end. That'll go into my 3/8 line. I've opened up the other side as a flare to accept the sending unit's little bubble flare. And I've got the whole thing perched and held together in the vise and with my soldering clamp here. So, I guess nothing to it but to do it. Oh, I should also mention I cleaned off the piece with some steel wool so the joint will be nice and clean. Hopefully that'll make a big difference. All right, and there's my piece, barb fitting, little hokey, but you know what, pretty strong. I wish there was a way to really plug that other end to test. Well, I guess I'll just have to trust it and I'll hook it up and see what I got. All right, now that I have my lovely sending unit adapter, I can focus my energy on my fine Canadian-made reproduction gas tank. So here's my sending unit. So that goes in just like that. I need a way to make a return line into the tank. So what I have is some AN bulkhead fittings, and I think that I'll just drill a hole in a flat side, mount this in with a 45-degree upturn like that, and see what I can do. So here we are under the tank. I have my nice Fireball recall here. So that is going to make me want to put my return line somewhere different. Almost have room to put it right here on this flat, and then it would be up high. But do I want it up high? On these flat spots here, it's going to be too hard to reach my hand in and fasten the jam nuts to get the sealing I need. But there is a convenient flat spot on this ridge right here that I could actually get in there and get with my big meat hooks. That is what I'm going to do first. I need to drill out this hole for this size, and I need to do it very nicely so that it doesn't create any terrible flashing or anything. Then I have this 45-degree AN fitting that if I put it in there just like that, I mean, it looks darn good to me.
She exposed fully what she had received.
That goes in nicely. Look at that. That could be a factory part right there, huh? You got your little right up on top. No big deal. Throw my little nipple up on that thing. Man, beautiful, huh? I'm gonna use this magnet to get all the steel shavings out of there. And I think I'm ready to drop the tank down. And there it is. I got my old gas tank out. Gonna get the fuel filler neck out here. Okay. I must say that I am incredibly pleased with that. You can see here, beautiful tank. My little return line is going to mount right in there. I can get rid of all this cacophony of adapters and loose lines and all that stuff. I am just so excited to put some fuel in this and see what it sounds like. And just know that it's a much more proficient job. Alright, so let me show you what I got going on here. I got it all plumbed up and it looks pretty good. Okay, here's my return line. And it goes nice into a nice rubber line, goes up over the rear axle and plumbs right into my little AN fitting there. And on the feed side, I have my nice soldered joint here to my 3/8 hose adapter into this short piece of 3/8 hose that is supplied with this fuel filter. Brand new fuel filter, of course, because, you know, it's about time. It goes into a rubber line, goes up over the axle, comes down, oh, followed the wrong one. Up over the axle, comes down this way, and right into the fuel pump. And then the fuel pump line, of course, then runs along the body. Now, I will say, now that I've seen this, I think that I would like to relocate this and just tuck this line just a little bit closer to the chassis. And I am extremely pleased with the progress. Only thing there is to do now is to put the post filter under the engine compartment. Okay. Well, at the end of the day, I could not be happier with my new fuel system. Not only are my new fuel lines a huge improvement aesthetically speaking, but they also dramatically reduced my fuel pump noise. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you want to be notified when I release new videos, maybe on my Pinto or the '78 Corolla, hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching.